life is one giant experiment. How can I find out how to eat the stuff that grows well here? And how can I adapt my diet, adapt it, so that I can use it how I use things that I'm familiar with? So right now, some of our biggest experiments, for me anyway, are in ferments and in flours. And I don't mean F-L-O-W, I mean F-L-O-U. So how many of you like wheat and are kind of addicted to bread, pancakes, crepes? So our bread-like things, what can we grow here that we can use to make a bread-like thing? Wheat, no, too much mold, too warm, it doesn't like it, you're not going to do it. Rice, we could, as an island, we could grow rice here. They have in the past. For one of the world wars, the big island of Hawaii exported a lot of rice to the continent. Now are we growing rice? No, but that's because mostly we're not growing any food, except for a few of us. So we need to take that back and reclaim that. Most of the other grains that we're familiar with, though, grains are a lot of work. You have something that's kind of like a grass and a whole bunch of little tiny seeds. You have to grow massive quantities of it, then you have to thrash it and bash it and collect all these seeds and dry them. Oh, yeah. I'm going to dry it. So it's very humid here. Drying is really difficult. So then the next thing you have is to avoid the molds and to store it and yada, yada, yada.
All the conventional grains grown on the mainland now, in order to harvest them at the same time, they dry them down by spraying them with Roundup. And so then what happens is that Roundup goes into the seed, and it's in the seed of all the conventional grains. I'm not sure 100% of the farmers do that, but that's standard practice now. So we're eating Roundup in our grains if we're not eating organic.
Is it all grains?
It's all grains now. I'm not sure about rice, but all field grains.
So I've been moving into different starches that I can turn into flours. And right now my two favorites, well actually, would I say three? Yeah, I would say three, are cassava, manioc, tapioca, whatever name you know it by, peach palm, and taro. And I really like to make flour from the three of those. It's true, coconut flour is really popular now too. But for me, coconut flour, I'm going to let somebody else do because it works better with big machines and things that can really smash open the coconuts and get the meat out and all that kind of stuff. But you could use the same principle for any of this stuff. You take a starch, you could make it out of sweet potatoes, though I haven't yet. And you, depending on the type of starch, you either need to cook it first or not. So for taro and cassava and peach palm, those three, I cook them first. You don't have to cook the cassava. The taro and the peach palm, yes. And what you do for the cassava, you peel off the outer skin because it has hydrogen cyanide in it, and you don't want to eat it without making sure that you do some kind of preparation and you remove the skin. But once you've done that, you can grate it, and you do have to dry it, and you do have to dry all of these flours, it's true. I actually dry ours mostly in cars, okay, on big cookie sheets, and in the oven with the pilot light, okay. But the plan is to make a fancy solar dehydrated. But in the meantime, your car works just fine. Close all the windows, stick it in your car, get the humidity out of it, and then once it's dry, then you put it in some kind of a blender or some way to pulverize it. You could do it by hand. My favorite way, though, is the Vitamix. It's kind of a very pricey original output, but once you have a Vitamix, the things you can do with it are amazing. So I highly recommend it. You can pulverize anything, bam, just like that. So that's what we use for our flours. After the cassava has been grated and dried, put it in the Vitamix, you have a flour. You get your peach palm. How many of you guys know what peach palm is? It's a palm tree, also known as a millionaire's palm, because you can eat the heart. It grows from clumps, so that way you can harvest the tree and you still have more that come up. And it's the fruit that hangs down from there. It's very popular in Brazil. They boil them in salty water and just eat them like that. Here, what we like to do with them, or I like to do with them, is I boil them and then I smash them up in the food processor first to kind of grind them into smaller bits. Then I dry it on cookie sheets, and then I put it back in the blender to get it into that fine powder. And thank you. Donna's going to pass around the cassava flour and the peach palm flour that we made. And then, of course, the next thing you got to do, oh, let me back up just a little bit, is the taro. I use the same procedure. I cook the taro first, then I peel it, then I chop it into smaller bits and dry it, and then after it's dried, I pulverize it into this powder. Flours all have different properties. We all like wheat because it has gluten. And even though gluten is highly allergenic to some people, it is sticky. It makes these really nice long fiber things. It's protein, and maybe Stuart could elaborate, maybe, I'm not sure. But because of that, you can let things rise and get nice and airy and fluffy. Well, none of these flours do that. So you have to find a binder, a way to get them to stay together. Peach palm, no binding capacity at all. You try making any kind of a dumpling with peach palm, isn't gonna work. So you gotta use eggs, and if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, then you gotta use something else. Cassava, however, is sticky, and taro's fairly sticky as well. I'd say peach palm's the bottom, taro, cassava for stickiness. And so I mix them, and I don't have recipes to hand you yet because I'm still experimenting like crazy, and I encourage all of you to join me in that experimentation process to get this ratio down. How much cassava to how much peach palm, how many eggs, but you can just experiment and try it out. We've made amazing dumplings out of cassava and peach palm flour. Great crepes. Crepes are really easy. And, you know, there I have my gluten-free, wheat-free, higher protein, much higher nutrients than if I had bought this flour from the store that was shipped from who knows where, that was harvested who knows when, and has sit on the shelf for who knows how long, right? But the other thing I wanted to say is, nutrient-wise, cassava is much stickier, and that's nice about it, but it does not have much nutritional value. So know that. I use it as a binder, but it's not like incredibly valuably good for you. Taro, however, really rich in minerals, amazingly so, and has a good amount of protein in it. And peach palm has a lot of protein in it. It's considered almost a complete protein. And if you mix all these things together, then you can have a really nice product. So, anybody have any questions on that part?
Are you using sweet or bitter cassava?
Using sweet.
Okay.
Yes. And for those of you that don't know the difference, sweet has less of the hydrogen cyanide in it.
So when I have made cassava, and it doesn't matter what variety, but I've got the sweet right now, and I've steamed it all. I didn't take the skin off before I steamed it, and the whole thing tasted really bad. Is that because I didn't take, so you always peel it first?
Peel it first.
Okay.
You want to get when you peel the cassava, you'll see the pink. You'll see this like brown skin on the outside, flaky bark, then it's pink, and then it's white, and you want all the pink gone. You just want the white.
Lulu, are you making flour at all?
I haven't, because up at this elevation, ulu isn't really that common. It's great down at the ocean, but I don't have a lot of ulu here. And so for me, what I'm focusing my research on is what I can grow a lot of. Pitch a couple taro recipes, please, Clyde.
I don't do it so much anymore, but when my kids were younger, we'd make real thick poi, pa'i, right? You don't put water in it, or if you do, a tiny bit. And you spread that out, maybe a quarter, half-inch thick, depending on what you like, in either a frying pan or a sheet that you can put in the oven. And then you just put all kinds of toppings on it and use it as a pizza crust. And all it is pa'i. It's just really thick poi. And you can store that in the fridge for days and days and days, and just pop it out, spread it out thin, put a whole bunch of toppings on it, and they can be raw or cooked. You can put them on after you heat it up or before. So that's something really simple.
If you can't use eggs, I would increase the cassava or flax seeds. Yeah, that would be good too. Can we grow flax? No, not very well. So we have to do some research to find out more things to grow that would increase stickiness. Bananas. Arrowroot. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
How about jackfruit seeds?
Jackfruit seeds, I haven't made flour out of them yet. I suppose you could. That'd be really labor intensive because you gotta peel each individual seed, but they're a great starch. So, I mean, I love to put them in soups and things like that because then don't quite have to peel quite so many. For me, when I'm looking for flowers, I'm looking for things that I can get quantities of because you need a lot to get a cup of flour.
Clive, do you know the name of those big yams that we used to get from your place? I've made flour from those. In the same process as what you said, take the skin, steam it, take the skin off, let it dry, and then we actually made cookies and we made a cake out of them, and they all turned out delicious. So it's a great one, and it doesn't have the stickiness as well. But we used bananas, and it was totally fun.